Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to Christmas in Arkham, where we're playing through Eldritch Horror, Arkham Horror 2nd Edition, and Elder Sign in sequence, and we're taking on Ithaqua in this campaign. Last week in Eldritch Horror, we chased Ithaqua into Arkham with a victory, so we get to start this week's game with a second item, with an extra item. This week, we have the same crew of investigators, but this time we're limited to what we're trying to control to just Arkham, as we play Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. Anyway, let's meet our cast of characters in this game by setting the scene, and we'll start off with looking at Ithaqua in 2nd Edition. First up, we're going to take a look at our Ancient One and the Herald that we're playing with. We're taking on Ithaqua, and our Herald is once again going to be the Lurker at the Threshold. So let's take a look at Ithaqua. First, we see the Doom track down here. He needs 11 Doom to wake up. -3 on the modifier for the attack when we go to fight him during the Ancient One battle, but more on that later in the game. Each Ancient One modifies some of the monsters on the board. They have a modifier themselves. Then the start of battle stuff, which I'll talk more about when we get there. So anyway, worshippers first. Ithaqua's worshippers eat the flesh of their fellow men, gaining supernatural power through their dark practice. Cultists have their toughness increased by 2. So cultists in this game are not monsters we want to see when they come out of the bag. Then we'll take a look at Ithaqua's special modifier, Icy Winds. While Ithaqua stirs in his sleep, any investigator in a street area at the end of the Mythos Phase loses 1 stamina. In addition, all weather cards are discarded without their special effects taking place. So that means weather cards eventually turn into blanks, which in this game, I don't mind. I don't really mind that too much. Anyway, now let's take a look at our Herald, the Lurker at the Threshold. The all-in-one and one-in-all. When the Lurker at the Threshold is the Herald, at the start of the game, shuffle a Reckoning deck and place it by the Herald sheet. I do have the Reckoning deck out, but it's not going to be by the sheet. Then place the Dark Pact cards near the Herald sheet and create a pool of power tokens. Both of those are also in my pool of cards, or tokens in the case of the power tokens. And as you recall from the first playthrough, which I did link to both videos of that playthrough will be in the description down below, power tokens we can spend as a clue, or we can spend them, I think, as sanity or stamina, depending on what we're paying. I'm just double checking the soul pack. You can spend it as a stamina when you suffer a stamina loss, or as a sanity if you suffer a sanity loss. The weird thing about that part of it is, if you have a soul pact, you spend power as a stamina, and then the blood pact lets you spend it as when you suffer sanity losses. So that is a little bit weird, but it'll take some getting used to. Anyway, coming back to the Lurker at the Threshold, we also have Rites of Magic. Whenever an investigator casts a spell, he may accept the Lurker of the Threshold's aid. If he does so, they reduce the sanity cost for the spell to 0, and automatically pass the spell check, but must immediately take a Blood, Soul Pact, or Bound Ally card, and follow its instructions. Must then draw and resolve a Reckoning card. And of course, an investigator can never have more than 1 of each kind of Dark Pact, and may not accept the aid if they already have 1 of each kind of Dark Pact. I'll go through each pact as we need to take them. Then there's Ever-Present Temptation. At the start of any turn, which I usually do this during the Upkeep Phase, an investigator may make a pact with the Lurker at the Threshold. If they do so, immediately take a Blood or Soul Pact or Bound Ally and follow the instructions. May take more than 1 type of Dark Pact on turn, but never more than 1 type of each Dark Pact. Never more than 1 of each type of Dark Pact. So I couldn't take, for instance, 2 Soul Pacts. And then we don't draw and resolve a Reckoning card when we take a Dark Pact at the start of a turn. Then we have the One Beyond. Each time a gate opens, draw and resolve a Reckoning, but don't do that for the gate that opens at the start of the game. And they shall break through again. Investigators receive -1 to fight and lore checks to close or seal gates. So if you hear me talk about... So if you hear me talking about effectively... For example, let's take Relay. Relay is a -3 gate. If you hear me talking about that being effectively a -4 gate, I'm accounting for that -1 in the calculation on how I'm figuring out the gate. But anyway, that will do it for our adversaries. Now let's go meet our heroes, and we'll go start off with Jenny. Here's our first investigator, Jenny Barnes the Dilettante. She starts off with 6 sanity and 4 stamina. Fixed possessions, $10, which I have over here. I have the dice tower. I do have the dice tower and shot because, as you recall from our victory in Eldritch Horror last week, each investigator will get to start with an extra item, and I'll determine that after I go through random possessions. So let's go ahead and go through said random possessions. She actually does start off with 6 sanity and 4 stamina, which I've got over here. Her random possessions, she's got 2 common items, so we'll start off with her first common item. She has Safety Deposit Key. During the movement phase, she can spend 1 movement point and discard this card while in the Bank of Arkham to make a luck -2 check. If you succeed, draw 1 unique item, but if you fail, gain 2 clue tokens, which might not still be the worst thing in the world. Then for her second common item, Jenny gets an Ithaqua. It's a physical weapon, which gives her +1 to combat checks, +3 instead if the opponent has magical resistance, and +6 if the opponent has magical immunity, and it's a one-handed weapon. So for now, I think we'll make that one of Jenny's hand slots. We'll put that there. Then she has a unique item, so she starts off with Purifying the Town. Oh, I hate these tasks. So I hate these missions. So she has to spend an upkeep in the police station, then the newspaper, then Yield Magic Shop, then South Church, and each turn she's there, she has to sacrifice 1 spell, so she'd have to discard it. The effect she gets, all rumor cards in play and in the Mythos deck are returned to the box. So that just gets you rid of all rumors for the game, which could be helpful to have, but again, I don't like these rumors. But we also have a spell, so Jenny gets Call Friend. Casting modifier +0, sanity cost 1. Magical spell. During the movement phase, cast and exhaust to choose an investigator in Arkham who has not moved this turn. Move that investigator to your current space, even another world. That investigator may not move again this turn. So I could potentially use that when I'm getting ready to accelerate gates, but anyway. Jenny also starts off with a skill, and then we'll take a look, and we'll see about getting her extra item. So the skill Jenny starts with is Lore. +1 Lore. When you spend a clue token to add to any lore check, add 1 extra bonus die. Which that could be handy because that'll give us a good way to close gates. But now we're going to go ahead and roll for Jenny's extra item. So the very crude system I've set up is a 1 or 2 will get her an extra common item, 3 or 4 will get her a unique item, and 5 or 6 will get her a spell. So we'll go ahead and roll that out real quick. That's a 4, so that gets her an extra unique item. Which means in addition to what she's already got here, Jenny will start off with a silver key. This is a lot better. So during any phase, put 1 stamina token from the bank on silver key before making an evade check to automatically pass it. Discard the silver key after using if there are 3 stamina tokens on it. So she gets 3 free evades, essentially. Alright, with that, we'll go ahead and take a quick look at Jenny's personal story as well. I'll get the dice tower out of shot. There we go. Jenny Barnes. She was just off the train here in Arkham, and already Jenny hated this town. Of course, she'd had a few weeks on the trip from Paris to build the hate and fear. In truth, Arkham doesn't seem as bad in person as it did in her imagination. The gabled roofs and New England architecture are actually fairly charming, and the people didn't seem so horrid, until she started asking questions, that is. And the conditions for her personal story. She's still looking for Isabel. If Jenny is at the unvisited isle during the upkeep phase, she may spend 5 clues to place Reunited in play. Fail if the terror level reaches 3 or higher, place Too Late in play. So we do need to be careful of that, if we can. We are also playing with relationships, which is this card over here, but I won't reveal that until after we go through her relationship partner. So let's move over and say hello to Jenny's relationship partner in this game, Lily. Here's Jenny's relationship partner for this game, Lily Chen, the martial artist. She starts off at Ye Olde Magic Shop, and I did forget to mention Jenny's special ability, her trust fund. Jenny gains $1 on upkeep. So that'll be very useful, which will help us with our money problems in this game. But anyway, we'll bring the dice tower back in shot here, because Lily will be getting an extra item as well. I will put it... Oh boy. I'm actually going to bring in the Cthulhu dice tower here. It'll be my upkeep tower, but I'll roll everything else using the big tower. There we go. Okay, that'll work. As I was saying, Lily starts off with her special ability is Yin and Yang. When spending focus, I'm going to zoom in here so you can read this a little better. There we go. When spending focus, Lily may adjust her maximum sanity and stamina as though they were skills. Each time Lily increases her maximum sanity, she gains 1 sanity, and same thing with stamina. Lily's current sanity or stamina can never exceed her maximum, yada yada yada. Then Jenny has a focus. Lily has 2. Focus being how many shifts you can move each slider. And you can see Lily's stat line there. As for her fixed possessions, she starts off with $4, 2 clue tokens, and her skill, Martial Arts. So any phase, when you make any combat check, gain +2 for every empty hand you have. So there's a lot of incentive for us to keep Lily's hands clear as much as we can. Anyway, let's take a look at her items. First off, she does, for random possessions, she gets a common item. So she gets Motorcycle. During the movement phase, exhaust to get 2 extra movement points. So if we get Lily's speed up high enough, she'll be our speed demon in the game. And then she also starts off with a spell. Her spell is Call the Azure Flame. Casting modifier +1, sanity cost 1, magical spell. Upkeep, you may cast and exhaust to take an Azure Flame special card. If this card is exhausted at the start of your upkeep phase, you may pay 1 sanity to keep it from refreshing. Okay. And then Lily's personal story, and then we'll take a look at her relationship with Jenny. Lily cleared her eyes and focused. Balance. Grace. Serenity. With every new horror that came shambling out of the shadows, Lily found it harder to return to a state of inner calm. The trial before her was so great. Surely her teachers could not have anticipated the challenges she must face. But she could not falter now, with her destiny so close at hand. Balance. Grace. Serenity. Lily opened her eyes and focused. Then her pass on her personal story. Chosen One. Pass. If the Ancient One awakens, place This Is It in play. Fail. If Lily is knocked unconscious or driven insane, place I Can't Do It in play. So hopefully So this is actually one game where we wouldn't sort of mind the Ancient One waking up, but that's relative. Anyway, Lily's relationship with Jenny. Lily and Jenny are survivors. Either you or your partner may exhaust this card before making an evade check to gain +1 to the check. Then last up, Lily starts off. Lily, like all of our investigators, will start off with an extra item. Same parameters as before. 1 to 2 gets her a common item. 3 to 4 gets her a unique item, and 5 to 6 gets her a spell. That's a 3, so she gets a unique item as well. Lily will draw. Powder Benghazi, one-off magical weapon, plus 9 to combat checks, lose 1 sanity and discard after use. So we can use that as a one-off if we need to kill something really powerful. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. That will do it for Lily. Now let's go meet the third investigator in our game, Monterey Jack. Here's our third investigator for the game, Monterey Jack, the archaeologist. I'll zoom in here. 3 sanity, 7 stamina. Archaeology is a special ability. Any phase. Whenever Monterey draws 1 or more cards from the unique item deck, he draws 1 extra and then discards 1. His home will be the Curiosity Shop, which I'll point everybody out when we go to the board. Fixed possessions. He starts off with $7, a clue token, and his 2 common items are a 38 revolver and a bullwhip. So let's take a look at those real quick here. I can never get them out. First up, we'll look at the 38 revolver. One-handed weapon, plus 3 to combat checks. Physical weapon. That can come into play if we need to be sensitive to something that has immunity of some kind. Like you saw with Jenny's Atahame, how if an enemy has magical resistance or immunity, then that gets stronger. Then we have the bullwhip, which is a plus 1 to combat checks. Also, the other hand, any phase you can exhaust to reroll 1 die after making a combat check. Sorry, I'm just putting this back in. There we go. Back in his other hand. So for random possessions, he starts off with 2 unique items and a skill. As I mentioned, his archaeology does work during setup. So we've got 3 unique items. I'll zoom out here a little bit so you can see. I've got 3 unique items up there, and I'll get to keep 2 of them. But before we get into that, let's take a look at his skill. So Monty's skill is Grapple. When you make any fight check, add plus 1 to each die you roll for purposes of checking for successes, i.e. a roll of 3 becomes a 4, etc. I don't know if that actually works for combat checks or not. I'll have to... Well, it is a check where you're using fight, so I imagine it would. But anyway. So let's take a look at Monty's 3 unique items and see which 2 we're keeping. First up we have an Elder Sign. These other 2 items had better be doozies or I'm snap keeping this. And I may snap keep it anyway. Elder Sign. Any phase. When sealing a gate, lose 1 sanity and 1 stamina and return this card to the box. You don't need to make a skill check to spend any clue tokens to seal the gate. In addition, it removed 1 Doom token from the Ancient One's Doom track. And as you saw, we need 11 Doom with Ithaqua. Anyway, let's take a look at his second unique item. He finds Elixir of Life. Any phase, discard Elixir of Life instead of drawing an injury or madness condition. That could be very good. And Enchanted Jewelry. Any phase, put 1 stamina token from the bank on Enchanted Jewelry to avoid losing 1 stamina. If there are 3 stamina tokens on it, discard Enchanted Jewelry. I think with him having 7 stamina to start with, the Enchanted Jewelry is probably the least useful of the 3. I definitely wanted to keep the Elder Sign as soon as I saw that. Oh yeah, okay, I was just checking something. I definitely want to keep the Elder Sign, and I think the Elixir of Life is probably going to be more useful. A one-time preventing us from drawing an injury or madness condition seems like it's going to be very powerful. So we'll keep those as his 2 unique items. Then before we roll for his extra item, I'll reveal his relationship with Lily. Monty and Lily are practitioners of the art. Whenever you or your partner casts a spell, either or both of you may contribute toward paying the sanity cost. Either you or your partner may exhaust this card before making a spell check to gain a +1 to the check. With a sanity of only 3, that's actually a very handy card for Monty to have with somebody who's got a high sanity and can get it even higher, like Lily. But anyway, now we have to roll for Monty's... We actually have to go through Monty's personal story, and then we'll roll for his extra item. Your father was no stranger to Arkham. Let me show you some photos. Monterey thumbed through the black and white images. In the background, he could see several valuable artifacts that he didn't recognize. These things. Why aren't they in a museum? My father would have insisted. The elderly gentleman simply stared back at Monterey sadly. The time for discussion was over. It was time for action. And then Monterey is digging too deep. Pass. If Monterey has 3 or more monster trophies, place Nothing Stays Hidden in play. Fail. If Monterey has 5 or more clue tokens, place Lost to the Ages in play. Now, if you remember when I played this back in September after this might have been August actually, at the end of my summer campaign, Circle Undone, I actually ended up with a pretty good personal story fail from Tony's personal story. I don't think this one will be nearly as good, but now it's time to roll for Monterey's extra item, so same parameters as before. And I will use, if this turns out to be a unique item, I will use Monterey's Archaeology on this as well. Except it is not, because that is a 1, so he gets a common item. And Monterey gets another safety deposit key. I went through this earlier with Jenny, so I won't go through it again. His luck is a little higher than... No, it's actually the same as Jenny's. But with that, that will do it for Monty. Now let's move over and meet our last investigator, Diana. Here's our last investigator, Diana Stanley, the Redeemed Cultist. 4 sanity, 6 stamina, just so you can see that before I bring the dice tower back down. Special abilities, Trusted Sister. Any phase, you can't lose your Silver Twilight membership. So let's take our first look at the Silver Twilight Lodge membership, which is one of her fixed starting possessions. So any phase, when you have an encounter at the Silver Twilight Lodge, you have an encounter at the Inner Sanctum instead. So whenever Diana goes to the Silver Twilight Lodge, she'll always encounter the Inner Sanctum, unless there's a gate there. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Her other special ability is Dark Insight. Any phase, gain 1 sanity or stamina each time a Doom token is added to the Ancient One's Doom track. In addition, gain 1 clue token each time the terror level increases. So I'll point this out when we move over to the board, but what I've done is I've actually covered the terror track in clues. I'll point out each effect of the terror track as we get there. But I've covered that with clues just to remind myself that those will go to Diana when we get to them. But speaking of clues, she starts off with 2 of those as her fixed possession, as her other fixed possessions, and then $4. Then for her random possessions, she gets a common item, a spell, and a skill. So let's see what Miss Diana has here. So for a common item, Diana has another Athame. Same thing as before with Jenny. I'll move that and make that one of her hand slots. Then the spell she has, Shroud of Shadow. Casting modifier -1, special. Any phase, cast, exhaust, and discard an amount of sanity of your choice. For each point of sanity you choose to discard, gain +2 to a sneak check. Okay. So we can use that to potentially evade monsters. We'll take a look at her skill next. Diana starts off with Egyptologist. I'm going to give her a different skill, actually, because we're not playing with the relics. We're not playing with the exhibits. So Diana gets, instead, Luck. +1 luck. When you spend a clue token to add to any luck check, add 1 extra bonus die. Okay. So that'll give us a little bit of stat play with Diana. Now we'll take a look at her personal story, and then we've got 2 relationships to reveal. Her relationship with Monty, and then her relationship with Jenny. Diana knew that the lodge had eyes elsewhere. She walked casually through Arkham's streets toward the police station. She was certain the evidence she had would see Carl Sanford was blocked away as a madman for the rest of his life. She just hoped that whomever she spoke to at the station wasn't one of the lodge's minions. And we'll take a look at her personal story. Redemption. If Diana is at the police station during the Upkeep Phase, she may spend 5 clue tokens to place the Mole into play. Fail if the terror level reaches 4, place Laying Low in play. So we're gonna need a lot of clues to clear personal stories. The thing is, we're going to be giving up 2 gates at least if we clear. We're going to be giving up 2 gates if we clear both of those. So that is something to be very careful of. But before we get to relationships, Diana gets an extra item. So same parameters as before. And she rolls. She rolls a 2, so we get another extra common item. Which means Diana draws. Research materials. So any phase, I can discard research materials instead of spending 1 clue token. So thanks to that, it's like Diana has 3 clue tokens to start with. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. Anyway, now we have relationships to reveal. So Monty and Diana are Mystic Knights. Anytime either you or your partner passes a spell check with 2 or more successes, the casting investigator may exhaust this card. If he does so, you and your partner each gain 1 sanity. That could be something very handy, especially if we can get a bunch of spells on Diana, and Monty's low on sanity. And then Diana and Jenny have their relationship over here. Oh, for crying out loud, this is going to be a problem. This is the one thing I don't like about these organizers. They're great at keeping everything organized, but I think some of it's just related to the fact that I sleeve my cards. So I think that might be coming into play here, but that's just amusing. Diana and Jenny. World ain't big enough for ain't big enough for us. If you or your partner is in an otherworld location, either of you may exhaust this card before making a check to gain +1 on that check. If the Ancient One has awakened, this card may not be used. So that's something in. That's if one of us is in if one of them is in an otherworld location. But anyway, that's our investigators all set up. Now let's move over to the board and finish doing setup, including our first Mythos card. We're over here at the board. Before I jump into drawing the first Mythos card, I do want to point everybody out here. So Jenny's up here at the train station. Monty's over here at the Curiosity Shop. Diana's down here at the General Store. And Lily is over at Ye Olde Magic Shop. And over here, like I mentioned I've covered the terror track and clues. So at level 3, what color is that? Oh, right. The General Store will close at terror level 3. At 6, we lose the Curiosity Shop. At 9, we lose Ye Olde Magic Shop. And at 10, the monster limit is removed from the city of Arkham. In that case, it'll turn into a monster limit, which is, I forget what that is. I think it's double the players plus something crazy to awaken the Ancient One. Let me double check that real quick. Terror level 10 and twice the normal monster limit. So the normal monster limit is 7. If we ever get up to 14 monsters with the terror level at 10, then Ithaqua will just wake up on the spot. So hopefully we can keep that from happening. But now I think we're just about ready to look for our first Mythos card. The only thing we can't start the game with is we can't start the game with a rumor. So let's see what we end up with from our first Mythos card. Okay, this isn't okay. So this isn't a rumor, we can work with this. Alright, so our first gate will actually be going to the Unnameable. I'll move the clue to the woods. Now I've got several different colors of stands over here. I'll be using... I forgot to get the... I'll be using black stands for the gates, yellow stands for the monsters, and then I've also got colored stands over here for Bless and Curse. Bless being blue, Curse being red. So our first gate will go. We got a lurker gate right off the bat. It's a split gate, Great Hall of Celiano and the City of the Great Race. So the way these split gates work, before I get a stand for it, is you can send the investigator to either other world. Looking at where that gate is spawning at the Unnameable, this might actually be a good location to send Monty to, because that actually will spawn fairly frequently on us. So that is something that we'll need to keep an eye on. Anyway, there's our gate stand. We'll put that there, and then we need a monster to go with it. Guarding that gate will be a Chthonian. +1 to try to sneak past. It's a triangle gate. -2 on the horror check or you lose 2 sanity. -3 on the combat check or you lose 3 health. You need 3 toughness to kill it. Instead of moving, roll a die. On a 4 to 6, all investigators in Arkham lose 1 stamina. So fortunately our team is actually pretty heavy on the stamina front. We might have to send Lily up to try to kill this, but I'll have to have a think about that. I definitely don't want this thing going off too much. Then we'll get our first Doom token onto Ithaqua's track. There's our first Doom. Put that on his track, bringing him up to 1. And for that first gate, we don't draw a Reckoning card. We will for every other one, though. I moved the clue over to the woods already. Then we have monster movement. Square and diamond move on white, circle on black, but the Chthonian's a triangle. So we look at our environment card, our Mythos card. Activity will be at the north side streets, which I'll use a marker to indicate. Dark's Carnival arrives. Environment urban. Investigators who end their movement in the north side streets gain 1 clue token from the sinister wonders they witness, but must pass a will -1 check or lose 1 sanity. That's probably an environment card that we're going to ignore. I'll put that there, just to indicate what it's doing. But I think that's probably an environment card we're going to ignore, because we don't want to be ending our movement on street locations due to losing stamina when we do. So anyway, that will do it for our first Mythos card. We're all ready to go, so let's jump into our first Upkeep phase, and we'll go jump in with Jenny. Now, you're probably noticing over here that I don't have any sliders set yet. On the first upkeep of the game, you get to set your sliders wherever you want them. So I think for Jenny's first turn, I'm going to send her shopping, because I could use a little extra firepower and maybe another Elder Sign or 2. I'd feel a little bit better with one of those. So for that, Jenny needs a speed of 2. I'm going to set her fight to 2-4. I'm going to set her fight will to 2-4 for the time being. Then her lore and luck are going to go to 3-3. So that will get Jenny up to the curiosity shop. The plan here is I'm going to send her shopping, and I'm going to probably send her with Lily, while Monty goes and deals with the gate at the Unvisited Isle. Anyway, that will do it for Jenny. Now let's move over to Lily. Oh, and on upkeep, before we move over to Lily, Jenny gains $1. Now that will do it for Jenny. Now let's move over to Lily. Here's Lily. Knowing how frequently gates of the woods come up, that's a location I'm very tempted to go grab those 2 clues from. But I'm going to take a little bit of a calculated risk with them because if this works, I can still get them next turn. But for starters, I'm going to set Lily's maximum sanity and stamina slider at 6-5. Then since I've got the motorcycle, I can get 2 extra movement points for that. So to get her up to the Curiosity Shop, I need a speed of 5. So I'm going to set her speed sneak at 3-2, which when I exhaust the motorcycle will give me the speed I need to get there. Then looking at her other 2 sliders, for now I'm going to set her fight will at 2-4. And then her lore luck's going to go to 2-3. That's where I'll start with Lily. Now let's move over to Monty. Monty's going to go to work right away on that gate at the Unnameable. But he's also going to have the Powder of Ibn Ghazi when he goes there. So to get down to the Unnameable, he's going to need a speed of 3 from the Curiosity Shop. Then I'm going to set his fight and will at 2-3. Because I need as much will as I can get, since I'm going to be up against a -2 combat check, and I want to have a die at that. I want to have as much chance as I can get to pass that will check, because if you remember the Powder of Ibn Ghazi, and I'll remind everybody of this when I actually take it from Lily, it's going to cost him a sanity to use it. So if he doesn't have the sanity, as long as he passes the will check, the horror check against the Chthonian, he'll be able to use it. If he doesn't, I'll have to try with physical weapons, and I don't expect to have any more luck than that. Then I'm going to put his lore luck at 3-3 for now. That will do it for starting setup for Monty. Now let's go see what Diana's doing. Diana's got a lot of clues around her, so I'm just going to send her on clue gobbling detail. Her closest clues right now are in Rivertown, and she only needs a speed of 2 for those. So I'll set her speed and sneak at 2-2. Then we'll set her fight will right now to 2-3. Then I'll put her lore and luck at 4-3. So right now, I think everybody's pretty much set. Like I said, I'm going to send Diana on clue detail. But that will do it for the upkeep phase. Now let's move into the movement phase, and we'll start that off with Jenny. Actually, I had a thought as I was looking at everybody's inventory off camera. Jenny, I forgot, actually has the silver key, so she can guarantee that Monty will get away from that Chthonian and be able to go in the gate. So I think what we're going to do is everybody's going to be giving Monty stuff. So Jenny's going to move 1 to the north side streets and 2 to the Curiosity Shop, where she'll say hey to Monty and then proceed to give him the silver key. So actually Monty won't need the... now Monty won't need the Power of Ibn Ghazi from Lily. And in fact, that might actually free my hands up a little bit with what I want to do with Lily, now that I can get past the Chthonian without any problems. Actually, that is actually a tempting idea now, to maybe have Lily go ahead and gobble up those 2 clues at the woods, since Monty can get past the Chthonian now guaranteed. Anyway, that will do it for Jenny. Now let's move down to Lily. Indeed, I am changing my plans with Lily. I'm not going to bother with exhausting the motorcycle, because she only needs a speed of 2 to get to the woods. So 1, 2, and she'll gobble up these 2 clues. So that'll bring Lily up to 4, which will give me an option on what I want to do with her next, with what I want to do with her. So I can start working her toward gates pretty fast. Anyway, that will do it for Lily. Now let's move back up and see what Monty's doing. Monty is going to move 1 to the north side streets, 2 to the Merchant District, and 3 to the Unnameable, where he'll immediately put a stamina token from the bank on the silver key that he got from Jenny to automatically evade the Chthonian. So he will be able to go into that gate on his Arkham Encounter phase. That will do it for Monty. Now let's move down to Diana. I actually did have Diana in the last shot, and I could have zoomed out to get her destination as well, but I decided not to. So anyway, Diana is going to move 1 to the Rivertown streets and 2 to the graveyard and grab this clue, which will bring her up to 3, effectively 4, because of her research materials. But that will do it for Diana. That will do it for the movement phase. Now let's go into the Arkham Encounter phase, and we'll start with Jenny. Jenny's going shopping, and I know it's hard to read, but there is a text encounter on the board that says shop. Instead of having an encounter here, you may draw 3 unique items and purchase one of them for its list price. Discard the other 2. Now, here I wouldn't mind more Elder Signs or more firepower. So let's see what we get here. We'll draw 3 unique items. Item 1 for Jenny. Enchanted Blade, +4 to combat checks, and a one-handed. Ooh. That could be very good. Card 2. Sealing the Beast's Power. Mission. Passing upkeep at Hibbs's Roadhouse, then the library, then yield Magic Shop, spend a sanity. In effect, the Ancient One's combat rating is reduced by 2 if it awakens. Example, a -5 would be a -3. So in this case, for Ithaqua, the -3 would become a -1. That's actually a pretty good mission, but I don't think it's as good as the Enchanted Blade. And a lightning gun. Any phase, lose 1 sanity and 1 stamina and discard a lightning gun to defeat all monsters in the sky. So I know I don't want that. The question is, do I want the Enchanted Blade or Sealing the Beast's Power? Sealing the Beast's Power is probably the first good task I've come across, but I think here it's the Enchanted Blade. So I'll spend my $6, get 5 back in change, and we'll add the Enchanted Blade to Jenny's firepower. So now Jenny's pretty tooled up and ready to go fighting. So we'll make that her second hand slot, which means conceivably Jenny could also take on the Chthonian potentially, and she might have more sanity to do it with. But I'm getting ahead of myself there. Anyway, that will do it for Jenny. Now let's move over to Lily. We have Lily over here at the woods, so we need the red deck for that. The red, what is that, downtown? Uptown. Downtown's white. Silly me. So we'll give this a shuffle. And a cut. And then this is Lily's encounter at the woods. As you trudge down the muddy path, a monster appears. Let's see what we draw. Oh boy. We draw an Elder thing. Obviously we're going to have to fight this thing. Alright, -3 on the combat check or lose 2 sanity. +0 on the combat check or lose 1 health. 2 toughness to kill it. And when you fail a combat check against an Elder thing, you must discard one of your weapons or spells, your choice if able. So we're going to have 1 shot at this. Her will right now is a 4. She's -3, so she gets 1 die on that. Which she fails miserably, so she'll lose 2 sanity. So there's the 2 sanity coming off for Lily. And then the combat check is +0. So right now her fight's 2. Plus we'll leave her hands empty to give her martial artist, so we'll have 6 dice on this. 3, 4, 5, 6. And we need 2 successes. And that is 3 successes, so we do get to take the Elder Thing as a monster trophy. And then there was more for if we kill it. If you kill it, take $5 and the taxidermist's thanks. Plus we get the monster trophy, so Lily gets another $5, bringing her up to 9. So we'll put that on her trail, move these items out of the way. Shuffle this back in. And to cut. Then that will do it for Lily's encounter, which was a very productive encounter if I do say so myself. Now let's move down and see what Monty's doing. We're not going to be here with Monty for long because his Arkham encounter phase is going to take him to the Great Hall of Celiano. That will do it for Monty. Now let's move down to Diana. Diana's in the graveyard. That's in the Rivertown district, so we need the purple deck. We need the purple location deck, I should say, without dropping cards, because the Reckoning deck is also purple. So we'll give that a shuffle. And a cut. And then Diana's card. A gate and a monster appear. So Diana is actually getting pulled through a gate, and we're going to have a reckoning right off the bat. So, here's our gate stack. It's a normal gate, but Diana's going to another dimension. It's a +0 gate. It's a square gate, effectively a -1. So we'll grab a gate stand for that. So we'll drag Diana to another dimension and put her on her side, having her be delayed. Then the monster will get with that. I'll give that, I'm just giving that a few quick shuffles off camera, but I'll do a couple more on camera. And the monster will get with that. We'll do everything related to the Ancient One's track once I get this monster, once we go through this monster and get it spawned. We have a Child of the Goat. Ooh, this is going to be a problem. -3 gate. It's a hexagon gate. It's a hexagon monster. Anything special? Child of the Goat is treated as a cultist. Gross. If you fail a combat check or evade check against a Child of the Goat, you're delayed. So no horror check. +1. You don't lose health or on this one. But remember, if we're treating it as a cultist, against Ithaqua, we need 3 toughness to kill this. So that's not something we want to see. But anyway, I'll get that on a yellow stand. Now, moving over to the Ancient One details, because we had a gate open, we get another Doom on Ithaqua's track, and then we get our first Reckoning of the game. That didn't take long. So we'll give the Reckoning deck a shuffle. And a cut. And then we'll find. Spread the word. Each investigator may choose to immediately gain 1 or more Dark Pacts. Then each investigator who does not have a Dark... Then, if there's at least 1 investigator who does not have a Dark Pact, each investigator who does is cursed. So, basically, it's... So we can choose to gain a Dark Pact. Then if there's at least 1 investigator who does not have a Dark Pact, each investigator who does is cursed. So if there's at least... So I think the way we kind of cheese this one a little bit is, if I'm understanding this card right, there's at least 1 investigator who does not have a Dark Pact, so we either all take a Dark Pact or none of us take one. I think this early in the game... I'm probably going to need to take one later. I'm probably going to need to take pacts later. And I've got a kind of a plan with Diana that involves her taking a pact a little bit later when she's ready to come out and seal this gate. But for now, I think none of us are going to take Dark Pacts. So we'll just put that back. And then because... Then we have everybody who does not... Then we have everybody who doesn't have a Dark Pact, which means each investigator who does have a Dark Pact is cursed. So since nobody took a Dark Pact, nobody's cursed. So we dodge a bullet there. I do tend to use Dark Pacts later in the game, but I don't use them on turn 1 if I can avoid it. Shuffle and a cut. Alright. That'll do it for the Arkham Encounter phase. Now we have an unexpectedly longer Otherworld Encounter phase, so let's go down to our Otherworld investigators. I've got both Monty and Diana in shot over here. Monty moved into his Otherworld of his own volition. Diana did not, so she's going to spend a turn delayed. But we're into the Otherworld Encounter phase now, so Monty is up first on the Great Hall of Celiano. He needs a blue or a green. Yellow won't work for him. It would have worked for Diana, but she can take any color on hers. Blue works for Monty, and we go to Other. It takes you a moment to realize that the horrible screeching noise consists of English words spoken by something monstrous. Lose 1 sanity, but gain 1 clue token. I don't want to be doing a lot of losing sanity in another world. Especially since the Elder Sign's already going to cost me 1 coming out. And there's nothing I can do about that. But anyway, that will do it for Monty. Now Diana can take the aforementioned any color. This'll work, so Other. One glimpse of the sky and things fall into place for you. Gain 1 clue token. Ooh, that's actually very welcome. Because that might mean I don't need to do what I was thinking about doing coming out of the other world with Diana. But anyway, that will do it for the Otherworld Encounter phase. Very quick, uneventful, and somewhat productive, if I'm being honest with it. But now, let's move back up top for the Mythos phase. The Mythos phase. Almost never productive, almost always destructive. Let's see what we get from the Deck of Doom, though. We have a headline. So the gate will appear at the Witch House. The clue will move to the Black Cave. Which unfortunately, if my plan would have, if I wouldn't have gotten sucked through the gate, I would have been able to gobble up those clues. But anyway, we need a gate at the Witch House. I wonder. I gotta look at something. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We have another lurker gate. We find Plateau of Leng. It's a diamond gate, -1. The heart icon on here means if you fail to close it, you lose a health. So that's going to the Witch House, and I already moved the clue. Which also means... Oh, I think I know what I did. But we need a monster to go with it. I remembered why I did something I did when I did setup last night. Anyway, the monster we get to guard the gate at the Witch House is an aforementioned cultist. -3 to sneak past, moon monster. Yeah. Cthulhu Fatagan. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that gibberish. No horror check. +1 on the combat checker, you lose 1 stamina. You need 3 toughness to kill it, because remember, we are playing against Ithaqua, and that's how the cultists get modified. Anyway, that goes there. Doom on Ithaqua goes up to 3. Which I haven't been paying attention to Diana. Well, Diana's at full strength of everything anyway, so I'm not too bothered with that. But we do need a reckoning, which we'll get to that here. So we'll give this a shuffle. And a cut, and we find this for our reckoning. Each investigator with a blood pact loses 2 stamina. Fortunately, nobody has a blood pact right now, so that won't do anything. I'm just checking these to make sure they're all facing right side up. And it looks like they are. I'm doing this. This is something I'm doing off camera. They are, so we're good to go there. Which means we have already moved the clue to the Black Cave. And then we have monster movement. So moon moves on white, cross moves on black. So the cultist that we didn't want to see in the first place, if I can get the dice tower out of shot since I won't need it, will move up to the French Hill Streets. And then this is a hexagon monster. Okay. We're all straight there. Then we have the event. Terror at the train station. A rusty train arrives in Arkham. disgorging 2 monsters into the north side streets. Oh joy. Which basically, well, there's no basically about it. Jenny's trapped there. Unless I think in a million years she can get past them, and I most likely don't. But let's see what we pull out. So we'll grab these 2 monsters. There we go. So first up we'll find a crawling one. -1 to try to sneak past. It's a circle monster. And on the back we find physical resistance. Before making a combat check against crawling one, roll a die. X is equal to the result of the die roll. -3 on the horror check, or you lose 3 sanity. -X, the aforementioned X, or you lose 2 health. 1 toughness to kill it. Then we have a deep 1 hybrid. -1 to try to sneak past. It's a cross monster. One man moved in a positively simian way, with long arms frequently touching the ground, while another figure, robed and tiara'd, seemed to progress in an almost hopping fashion. -1 on the horror check, or lose 1 sanity. +0 on the combat check, or lose 2 stamina. 1 toughness to kill it. So not too bad, but still. It would cost Jenny a stamina if she wants to land there and try to deal with both of those monsters. Which might be a tempting idea. I'll have to give that a little bit of thought during the upkeep phase. So we've got the crawling one. And now we're getting the deep 1 hybrid. Definitely tempting to get monsters under control if we can. But first player will move over to Lily. And then we'll move over to Lily as she's the first player in our next upkeep phase. I think Lily's going to do her best clue vacuum impression in this next round. So she's going to move up to the Black Cave. She's got a movement of 3, plus the motorcycle gives her an extra 2, so that's 5, which will be enough to get her up to the merchant, up to the Black Cave to gobble up those 2 clues. I do need to be careful, though. I'm taking a little bit of a risk, just because I've already had 1 gate open on top of Diana. So I'm hoping I don't have another one just open up on top of Lily. But I think her stats are fine where they are. So that will do it for Lily in this upkeep phase. Now let's move over to Monty. Monty's turn is going to simply consist of him moving over to the second half of the Great Hall of Celiano and having another encounter there. So I'm going to leave his stats as is. He will be using the Elder Sign, remember, to close that gate when he comes out. But that will do it for Monty. Now let's move over to Diana. Because Diana got sucked through the gate, rather than being able to step through it of her own accord, she's going to have 3 encounters there. Her first one was last turn, after she got sucked through it during the Arkham encounter phase. This turn she'll be standing up, and then next turn she'll be walking over to the second half of another dimension. I'll leave Diana's stats exactly where they are. That will do it for Diana. Now let's move over to Jenny. The will checks on both of these monsters on the north side streets actually aren't... The only real bad one here is going to be the crawling one. But we definitely have a lot of firepower for that one. So I think we are going to try to take both those monsters out, because I don't want to let the monsters start getting too out of control here. So to do that, I'm going to adjust her fight and will down to 1-5, because I want to make sure I've got a good chance on the horror checks, especially with powerful weapons already. But anyway, that will do it for Jenny. That will do it for the upkeep phase. Actually, that won't quite do it for the upkeep phase, because Jenny, I'm bad at remembering this, on her trust fund, gains $1. Now that will do it for Jenny in the upkeep phase. So now let's get back to the board, into the movement phase, and we'll start with Lily. Here's Lily up here in shot. We're taking a little bit of a long shot because the plan here After we exhaust the motorcycle, which I was going to do, is we're going to move 1 to Uptown Streets, 2 to Miskatonic University, 3 to Merchant District, going around the cultist here, 4 to Rivertown Streets, and 5 to the Black Cave to scoop up these 2 clues, which will bring Lily up to 6, so now I can send her into a gate. That will do it for Lily. Now let's move down to our gate-ridden investigators. The movement phase for both of our gate-ridden investigators have one thing in common. Blink, and you miss them. So Monty moved over to the second half of the Great Hall of Celiano, and Diana stood up in another dimension. Anyway, that will do it for both of them. Now let's move up to Jenny, who's going to have a little bit of fighting to do. We have the dice tower and shot here because Jenny is going to move out to the north side streets and she's going to do some fighting. So she's going to start off with the Deep One hybrid. I'll move this over here. As we recall, if I can get it to focus for me. There we go. -1 on the will checker. She loses 1 sanity. Her will is 5, -1 is 4. So one thing that's different between Arkham and Eldritch Horror, between Arkham 2nd Edition and Eldritch Horror, is Eldritch is sensitive to the number of successes you get. Where in Arkham, where in this game, if you get just one success, the check is considered to be passed. So anyway, 4 dice on the will check against the Deep One hybrid. Jenny loses 1 sanity, which I can probably deal with that. And then we have the combat check, so it's +0 on that, which means we have 1 from the Athame, 4 from the Enchanted Blade, which is 5, +1 is 6. So hopefully we have nothing crazy happen here. We just need 1 success, which we get 3, so Jenny gets our first monster trophy of the game. She's got 1 toughness of trophies right now to start with. Actually, no, this is our second trophy of the game because Lily's Elder thing is actually 2 toughness of trophy. Next, we have the crawling one that we have to deal with. And this is why I bumped Jenny's will up so much. So she's -3, which means she gets 2 dice against the crawling one. That is a rubbish roll of 2 1s. So Jenny takes another 3 sanity and goes down to 2. And then we have to roll a die. So whatever this comes up as is what the -X modifier is for Jenny's combat check. Oh my good grief, Jenny. That's a -6. So she fails that automatically because she doesn't even get a die to roll. So she goes down to 2 stamina. And let's run the combat back. So the horror check is already considered dealt with, so we have to roll this again. Jenny, can we please get something a little bit lower? -2. That's a little more reasonable, so that gives us 4 dice. Alright. Which means, in theory, we should have a little better chance of killing this thing. And theory actually works here, even though that was a pretty rubbish roll. So Jenny does get to take this out. It actually did have physical resistance on it. I did forget to mention that. What that means is, if something has physical resistance, you get half of the weapon's value rounded down. So in this case, -1 rounded up, I should say. So 1 turns out to be a 0, or it turns out to be half, rounded up as 1. So Jenny still gets 1, still gets her die from the Athame. So we'll put that on her monster trophy toughness. She now has 2 toughness of monster trophies, but she is going to lose a stamina from being in the streets at the end of the Mythos phase, barring anything unusual right now. But that will do it for Jenny, that will do it for the movement phase. Let's move over to the Arkham Encounter phase, and we'll move down to Lily. I've got the dice tower in shot just in case we need it. So here's the purple deck once again for Lily. Give this a shuffle. And a cut. And that will be Lily's encounter card. Lily will find. We are at the Black Cave. The shopkeeper at the general store thinks that transients living in the caves are scaring his customers. He asks you to chase them off. Make a fight -1 check to intimidate them. So Lily's fight right now is 2, which means we get 1 die. Wait. Oh, that's for combat checks. So martial arts wouldn't work on this check because it's a fight check, not a combat check. It wouldn't help anyway because that's a fail. If you fail, they pelt you with rocks and you lose 1 stamina. That's those annoying little brats. Anyway, that will do it for Lily's encounter phase. We'll skip over Monty and Diana because they're in another world. We'll be coming back to them in a minute. And then we'll move up to Jenny, who's in the streets. Jenny's Arkham encounter phase is lightning quick because she doesn't have an encounter, but there is something we need to do during this phase. This actually would have happened during the movement phase because Jenny would have ended her movement in the north side streets. Because of the rumor, she gets a clue token, but she has to pass a will -1 check or she loses one sanity, which I'll probably have to make a beeline for Arkham Asylum to fix. But I'm getting ahead of myself as usual. So anyway, here's her will -1 check, which she passes with flying colors. She does have 2 successes in there. But anyway, that will do it for Jenny. That will do it for a brief rewind into the movement phase and the Arkham encounter phase. Now we're into the Otherworld encounter phase, so let's go down to our gate investigators. We're into the Otherworld encounter phase. I've got both Monty and Diana in shot here, because I'll be doing both of their encounters in the same shot. Monty is in the second half of the Great Hall of Celiano. He needs a blue or a green. Green, and we have Celiano. Make a luck -1 check to find a scroll containing 1 spell. So his luck right now is 3, -1 is 2. So let's see what we can do here. We can fail that, but I'm not going to spend a clue on that, even though a spell would be very good to have. And then Diana just gets the first one off the top of the deck. And we go to Other. You push yourself to the limit. Roll 1 die for each point of stamina you have, which is 6. Lose 1 stamina for each die that doesn't roll a success. If you don't fall unconscious, gain a clue token for each die that rolled a success. So we get 6 dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We lose a stamina per fail and get a clue per success. Which means I'll probably be sending Diana to rest when she comes out of this other world. At least as fast as I can get her there, anyway. Okay, so she loses 4 stamina, but gets 2 clue tokens. So here are the 4 clue tokens moving, or the 2 clue tokens moving over to Diana. And then we have the 4 stamina coming back over. Anyway, that will do it for the Otherworld encounter phase. Now we can move back up top for the Mythos phase. I've got the dice tower in shot in case I end up needing it during the Mythos phase. Let's find out what we get. I typically don't need it in this game as much as I do in Eldritch, but I still don't like to take a chance on it. We have a headline. So a clue goes to the... So a gate appears at the Witch House. The clue will move to the Black Cave, which will go straight into Lily's pocket. I'm kind of shortcutting this, I realize, but... Alright, so... Right, we need a gate at the Witch House. We have another regular gate. This one is taking us also to the Plateau of Lang. So now we've got a couple of places we can come out. And this is a black stand. That's going to the Witch House. Up. Oh, we have... Wait. No! We have a gate at the Witch House already, so this is actually going to be a Monster Surge. So a Monster Surge is the greater of the number of gates on the board or the players. In this case, we only have 3 gates on the board, so we get 4. So we get a 4 Monster Surge. All right, so we need the rest of these stands. We'll start off at the plateau. We'll start off at the Witch House, which is the gate that initiated the surge. The clue is still going to move into Lily's pocket. So going to the Witch House first, we have another Elder thing. We saw Lily defeat one of these earlier in the game. Next, we'll surge at the unnameable split gate. And we'll find Serpent People. Oh boy. -2 to try to sneak past. It's a moon monster. Magical resistant and elusive. While Serpent People is a monster trophy, it may be spent after failing a combat check to add 3 bonus dice to the roll. -1 toughness, or -1 on the horror check or lose 2 sanity. -2 on the combat check or lose 4 stamina. 1 toughness to kill it. Then we'll surge at then we'll spawn at the graveyard. We find another cultist, which is not something I want to see today. The one good thing about the cultist is that their trophy value is also modified because of them being stronger in this game. And then we surge at the Witch House again. We find a Warlock, which is a yellow monster, meaning in this case it's immobile. The Chthonian that we spawned earlier, you might be able to see it here, it's kind of hard to tell, but that's actually a green monster, which means it has a special effect on the back instead of moving. So -2 on the combat check. It's a circle monster. Magical immunity, which is going to be fun. Then if you pass a combat check against a Warlock, return it to the box and gain 2 clue tokens. -1 on the horror check or you lose 1 sanity. -3 on the combat check or you lose 1 stamina. 2 toughness to take it out. So that's going to be at the Witch House until we can go kill it. And Lily might. That's actually a tempting idea. Let's see, we put the clue at the Black Cave. Monster movement. Moon moves on white. Cross moves on black. So Moon, we have the cultist, which is trapping Lily. We have 1 cultist that's trapping Lily. 1 would have been moving out of her way. And do we have any other moons? Yep, Serpent People's actually a moon as well, so that moves on black. On white, we have no cross monsters on the board. Alright. 4th of July Parade. Investigators cannot move into or out of the Merchant District streets until the end of next turn. Leave this card in play until then to indicate this. So I'll just put that on top of the Merchant District. So that'll be at the end of this coming turn. So we have a slight problem here because we've actually got Lily trapped in the Black Cave unless she can deal with that cultist. Jenny is not trapped, but she is far from in a good way right now, which reminds me, at the end of the Mythos Phase, that is, right? Yes, at the end of the Mythos Phase, so Jenny loses a stamina, which means she needs to get inside. Otherwise, she's going to end up at St. Mary's Hospital, which is not somewhere I want to be right now. But anyway, looking at the board, our monster situation just suddenly got way out of control. I can't really do much about it right now. But, I'll have to give that a little bit of thought, but we are moving into the Upkeep Phase. Monty's our first player, so let's move down to him and see what he's doing. Monty's actually coming out of the Great Hall of Celiano this turn. So I'm going to leave his stats exactly where they are. He's going to end up back at the Unnameable, which will give us a great start. Anyway, that will do it for Monty. Now let's move over to Diana. Diana is only moving over to the second half of another dimension, but she's got enough clues to come out with a potential to get another seal on the board as long as nothing goes sideways on us, which is unfortunately very possible. So anyway, that will do it for Diana. Now let's move up to Jenny. Jenny's our third player. First things first, she'll gain $1 and go up to 7. She needs to get inside this turn, and she's going to go to Arkham Asylum to do that. With a speed of 2, she can already get there. So I think she's all set to go there. That will do it for Jenny. Now let's move over to Lily. As tempting as it would be to say right now, Lily's trapped by the cultist and the terrible weather, I don't think I really have that luxury. First thing I will do, though, is I will exhaust the motorcycle. What is the Azure Flame, actually? I don't think I've ever seen that. That actually could be very good. I think, you know what, I think we are going to try to take that. So, bring the Dice Tower in shot. Call the Azure Flame. Sanity cost of 1. Casting modifier +1. So her lore right now is 2. That'll give her 3 dice. I'll spend the sanity. We'll get her 3 dice? Yeah. Lily fails that, unfortunately. And I really wouldn't have minded grabbing the Azure Flame. I was taking a look at it off camera, but yeah. So I think we are going to have to send her after the cultist this round. But anyway, I think we are going to have to send her up to the Rivertown streets at the cost of a stamina. But that will do it for Lily. That will do it for the upkeep phase. Now let's get into the movement phase, and we'll start with our gate-ridden investigators once again. We have both of our gate investigators here. Monty will start by moving out to the Unnameable. He'll get an Explore token there, so he doesn't have to deal with the Chthonian there this turn. And hopefully not for a long while will he have to deal with it. Then Diana will move over to the second half of another dimension. That will do it for Diana. Now let's get up to Jenny. Jenny's turn is all about getting inside. So she's going to move 1 to downtown and 2 to Arkham Asylum. Actually, she'll move 1 to downtown. Actually, we'll go 2 to Independence Square and grab her a clue. That'll bring her up to 2 clues. Then that will do it for Jenny. Now let's move over to Lily. We're going to bring the Dice Tower in shot. Okay, there we go. Because Lily is going to move up and fight this cultist. So, as we see here, no horror check on the cultist, but we're +1, so she is 2, +4 is 6, +1 is 7, but we need 3 successes against the cultist. So that's 6, 7. Fortunately, we only lose 1 stamina, so that's something. Oh dear. We do have clues to spare, so I'm going to toss 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to toss a clue and try for a reroll here. There we go. Okay, so the cultist is defeated, which will bring Lily up to 5 toughness worth of monster trophies. That's significant down at the church, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. What's more important, though, is we get a monster off the board, so now I'm not as worried about monster surges potentially coming up, but I'm getting ahead of myself on that. That will do it for Lily. That will do it for the movement phase. Now let's go into the Arkham Encounter phase, and we'll start off with Monty. Monty's encounter is going to be very simple. He's going to use the Elder Sign, which will require him to spend come on. The Elder Sign will require him, rather than try to hold everything, will require him to spend 1 sanity and 1 stamina, and this will return to the box. I'll just put it out of the way here. But he doesn't have to make a check. He does get to seal the gate. So he'll get to claim this as our first gate trophy of the game. Then we'll check for any star and triangle monsters. The Chthonian's a triangle, so that leaves the board. I don't think we have any star monsters on the board. We have a lot of moons, though. So a moon gate would be a very welcome surprise here. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself there. That's a Doom token off of Ithaqua's track because we used an Elder Sign to seal that gate. And then speaking of seals, that will be our first blue seal on the board. So, I just wanted him out of the way there. So that's our first blue seal on the board. Anyway, that will do it for Monty. We'll skip over Diana, who's still in another dimension, and we'll move up to Jenny. Jenny at Independence Square. That's a downtown district, so we need the white deck. I'll bring the dice tower in shot once I give this a quick shuffle. And a cut. That'll be her card. I'll get the dice tower in shot. Preferably without knocking her over. And then we'll find make a will -1 check. Right now her will is 5, -1 is 4. I didn't bother looking at our allies, but that'll be relevant in a minute here. We do pass. I get a couple of successes in there. If you pass, Anna Kazlow, the fortune teller, offers her help in your investigation. Take her ally card if it's available. If it's not, gain 2 clue tokens, and I won't bother with the fail. But let me look at her at the allies, and look at that right on top, or the first one I see. So Anna Kazlow gives Jenny +2 luck, and you gain 2 clue tokens when Anna joins you. So that brings Jenny up to 4, which means we can start probably getting a lot of seals on the board in a hurry, but I'm getting ahead of myself on that front. We'll skip over Lily, who's in the Rivertown streets and thus doesn't get an encounter. And I'll shuffle this in. Then we'll move over to Diana. Once I finish shuffling this in, we'll move into the Otherworld Encounter phase next, and that'll bring us down to Diana. Diana's still in another dimension, so 1 off the top of the Otherworld Encounter deck. And we have Other. The rope seems to extend upward forever, but it's the only way out of the crevasse you find yourself in. Pass a fight -1 check to climb it and return to Arkham. If you fail, you fall, losing 2 stamina and staying here next turn. Oh dear. Diana's fight... Diana's fights 2. The losing 2 stamina part is very dangerous because if I fail this, I'm going to have to spend a clue just to get a die here. Because if I fail this, I'm also going to exhaust... World ain't big enough for us, which is her relationship with Jenny, since Jenny is not in another world. So I'm going to give Diana 2 dice at this. I'm probably going to need to give her a reroll. I'm probably going to need to do some rerolling here, but... yeah, I definitely do not want to get Diana lost in time and space here. Because that's the problem right now is she's at 2 stamina, so if she fails, she's lost in time and space. To my relief, she passes, because that is a 6. So Diana succeeds, and she does return to Arkham right on the spot. Unfortunately, she's stepping into the Child of the Goat. Because of the way the ordering works here, is with the Explore token on there, which I did off camera, because of the way the timing works, because of the way that ability is worded, if you return during the movement phase, you don't have to encounter the monster. But because we're returning during the Otherworld Encounter phase, before the next turn, she will have to deal with the Child of the Goat there. And unfortunately, she is going to be first player, so that's going to be a bit of a problem as well. But anyway, that will do it for Diana's Otherworld Encounter phase. We'll move back up top for the Mythos phase. We're back up top for the Mythos phase. Hopefully nothing too destructive here. Uh-oh. Okay, so we start off with a gated Independence Square, which is going to pull poor Jenny through it again. That poor woman has not gotten a break at all this game. We have a regular gate, so she's going to the Great Hall of Celiano. That's not terrible, actually. So we'll get a black gate stand for that. Oop. So poor Jenny gets pulled through, and then we need a monster to go with it. Oh boy, we got a Spectral Hunter, -4. -4 to sneak past, and it's a square monster. Ambush. If you pass a combat check against Spectral Hunter, return it to the box and gain $5. -2 on the horror check or lose 2 sanity. -2 on the combat check or lose 2 stamina, 3 toughness to kill it, and it's a yellow monster so it doesn't move. Okay. Before we get into that, we do need a Doom on Ithaqua, and we're going to need a Reckoning. Alright, we just gave that a shuffle and a cut. So this is our reckoning for the gate at Independence Square. He is everywhere. If every investigator has one or more dark pacts and or one or more power, add a Doom token to the Doom track. Nobody has any of either, so we're good there. Although I expect that to change this turn. I expect that to change at the next Upkeep Phase. But I'm getting ahead of myself because the clue moves to the unnameable, because the clue appears to the unnameable, except it'll go straight in Monty's pocket. And then we have monster movement. Slash, triangle, and star moves on white. Hexagon moves on black. So that's a hexagon that'll move on top of Lily, who's probably better suited to deal with that right now. Let's see. That's a diamond. Okay, we're all clear otherwise. Alright. Strange Power Flux plagues City. Headline. All investigators in otherworld areas may immediately move to Arkham. So that brings Jenny immediately back to Independence Square and gives her an Explorer token. Unfortunately, she happens to be right on top of the Spectral Hunter. Which, if I can pull this off, we're going to end up we're going to be halfway home right away. But I'm getting ahead of myself, and Diana is our first player, so let's go ahead and drop down into the Upkeep Phase. Diana has enough clues right now to try to seal the graveyard and have a reroll at it. I'm also going to exhaust World Ain't Big Enough for Us. We're not going to be able to use that since Jenny got pulled back out of the Great Hall of Celiano. But with Diana in mind trying to seal a gate, I'm going to do two things to help me amplify her chances. First, I'm going to push her lore up to 6. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Blood Pact. So I'm going to grab... Where did I put the... Oh, here they are. Blood Pact. So when you gain a Blood Pact, restore your stamina to full, except I'm immediately going to be draining it to give me some power. So any phase, while this card is refreshed, anytime you would gain any amount of stamina, you may instead gain that amount of power. You may spend a power token or either a clue token as or as 1 sanity when you suffer a sanity loss. Upkeep, exhaust Blood Pact, and lose X stamina to gain X power. So I'm immediately going to drain it for 4 stamina to give Diana 4 power. Because I want her to have several rerolls at trying to close that gate. Although I'm hoping she's looking at effectively a -1 gate, so... That seems like it should be a pretty easy gate to close, but I don't want to take any chances with that. Anyway, that will do it for Diana. Now let's move up to Jenny. Jenny's in a very bad way here. Okay, this Mythos card should be gone, so we can move into the Merchant District streets now. But anyway, coming back to Jenny. Jenny's in a very bad way right now, but I've got a golden opportunity here. I've got an opportunity where if everything works right, I can end up halfway home in terms of how many gates I need to win the game. Or potentially, I could potentially win this another way, but I'm getting ahead of myself on that. So the first 2 things Jenny's going to do are she's going to take both Blood and Soul Pact. So Soul Pact is the same thing as a Blood Pact, but for stamina, but for sanity, and she can use a power token as a stamina on her Soul Pact. Then I'm going to exhaust both of them, drain her for 1 stamina and 3 sanity. So there's her. So she's going to end up at. So she's going to end up at 3 and 3. She's going to end up. She's also going to get. What is that going to come out to? 4 power, I think. You have to 6 and 4. I drain her to end up with 3 and 3. So yeah, 4 power. Mostly, I want to make sure that Jenny can kill the Spectral Hunter and then have a decent-ish shot at trying to close that gate. But I might be getting ahead of myself there. And then related to that, I'm also going to bump her lore up to 4, which is effectively 5, because her skill is +1 lore. Anyway, that will do it for Jenny. Now let's move over to Lily. Alright, Lily's Call the Azure Flame refreshes, which will actually try to cast that again. Yeah. Try to cast that again. So we'll bring the Upkeep Tower and shot. And then we need her lore's 2 + 1 is 3, because that's the casting modifier on Call the Azure Flame. That succeeds, so I was supposed to spend the sanity before I even cast the spell anyway, so grab that. So now Lily's down to 2 sanity, but we do get the Azure Flame, so let's take a look at that. So Azure Flame, magical effect, +4 to combat checks. Any phase, when using the Azure Flame in combat, all 6s rolled count as 2 successes. Discard this if Call of the Azure Flame is refreshed or leaves your possession. And as we recall, on upkeep I can pay 1 sanity instead of refreshing Call the Azure Flame. So yeah, this will come in very handy as Lily is trying to deal with the Child of the Goat. But anyway, that will do it for Lily. Now let's move over to Monty. Here's Monty. Now, I had to look something up on one of the keywords on one of our monsters, but I think we have a decent shot to actually try to win the game if I want to go for it. So, what we're going to do with Monty is we're actually going to send him to the witch house and into the Plateau of Leng. So to do that, he's going to need a speed of 4, which means I will adjust this to there, which will give him no sneak, but I'm not going to need it for my plan. My plan is I'm going to try to take the Warlock out and automatically evade the Elder things, and I still have 2 charges on the Silver Key that I can put on. But anyway, that will do it for Monty. Now let's move, that'll do it for the Upkeep phase. Now let's move over into the Movement phase, and we'll go say hello first to Diana. We can actually get the ladies in shot here. Diana's staying put at the graveyard because I'm going to try to seal that. Jenny stands up, sees a Spectral Hunter. The only way she's sneaking past a -4 with a sneak of 2 is in her delusions. So yeah, we're just going to proceed right to combat. So ambush means... I got to double check the ambush keyword. Hang on a second. I think it means she has to keep fighting it until... I think it means she has to keep fighting it to the death. Yep, so it's basically a fight to the death here. So Jenny starts off at a... So she's -2s on both the horror and combat checks. So her will right now is 4... 5 -2 is 3. Come on. I probably could have drained for a little more sanity, but I didn't want to take a chance. So she gets 3 dice. On upkeep, Jenny, I did forget to give Jenny her $1, so she should be up to 8. Yes, I know, I suck at remembering that. Alright, so... I'd rather have the rerolls for the combat check and or the gate. So I'm just going to eat the 2 sanity there. Plus, as you remember, the horror check is considered dealt with, so I don't have to roll it for the rest of the time I'm fighting this thing. So also a -2 on the combat, -2 on the combat check. I have +1 from the Ithaqua, +4 is 5, plus her native 1 is 6, -2 is 4. So I'm definitely taking a very risky play here. That was a pretty rubbish roll, so I'm going to actually eat the 2 damage and plan on re-rolling on this next combat check. Yeah. This could be very bad. One, 2, so we're actually getting somewhere. I'll spend a power for a re-roll. Get those 2 6s out of the way. Spend another power for a reroll. Three. Okay. So this returns to the box, which I will also put that out of the way pile here. And then Jenny will gain $5. So she'll have a reroll at trying to close that gate. But now Jenny's up to $13, and sending her over to... Getting her healed up is not going to be the worst thought in the world, but I'm getting ahead of myself here because Lily is going to be fighting as well. So, first of all, it's a -3. Lily's sneak is 2, so she's not evading that. But anyway, Child of the Goat is a cultist, so no horror check there. This is probably going to be way overkill, so let's see, 2, plus 4 from the Azure Flame is 6, plus 1 is 7. And 6's count as 2 successes. So, and we only need 1 against this thing, so yeah. So we very much slapped the Child of the Goat around. Even with the treating it as a cultist in terms of toughness, which we probably should have done anyway. That's another 3 toughness for Lily. Unfortunately, she is stuck in the streets, which means she'll be losing 1 stamina at the end of the Mythos phase. But I'm getting ahead of myself because now we have to move up to Monty. Alright, here's Monty. So he's going to move 1 to the Merchant District. The Serpent People is elusive, which means he can leave the space if he wants to. He'd have to roll the awareness modifier to be able to pick a fight with it, but he doesn't want to. So he's going to move 2 to Miskatonic University, 3 to French Hill, and 4 to the Witch House. He'll start off by automatically evading the Elder thing with the silver key. That thing was very handy to move over to him. And then he'll fight the Warlock. So he'll start off with a -1 on the horror check or lose 1 stamina. So, yeah. So his will right now is 3 minus 1 is 2. Actually, we could have automatically evaded the Warlock, too, if I wanted to burn the... Which had I remembered that, I'm actually going to rewind that. Because I forgot I had 1 charge left. Which I actually am going to use here to evade the Warlock as well. So pretend you didn't see that roll. I didn't realize I had a charge left on the silver key. So I'll use the last charge, automatically evade the Warlock. Which means Monty is all clear to go. So that will do it for the movement phase. Now let's go into the Arkham encounter phase, and we'll start off with Diana. Once again, I can get the ladies all in shot here. So Diana will start off by trying to close the gate to another dimension at the graveyard. That's a +0, effectively a -1 gate thanks to the lurker. So that's 5 dice for Diana. The gate is closed, and Diana will be spending the 5 clues, 4 of which will be her power. So there are 5, clues to give us our second seal on the board. We'll take the Explore token away. Jenny will run that back as well. She's looking at the Great Hall of Celiano, which is a -1, effectively -2 gate. So she gets 3 dice, and she's got 1 reroll, which hopefully I don't need. I do not need it. So I get 2 successes there, which means the Great Hall of Celiano is now closed. And it's a gate trophy. This was Diana's gate trophy. No, Monty. I gave that to the wrong investigator, but anyway. So, and I'm giving the Great Hall of Celiano to Lily. That should be Jenny, who will also spend 5 clues. So there are 5 clues to give us our 3rd seal. That will do it for the ladies. Now let's move down to Monty. We're not going to be here in the Arkham Encounter phase with Monty for long, because his Arkham Encounter is taking us to the Plateau of Lang. And then as long as we're right here, we might as well do his Otherworld encounter. He needs a red or a green at the Plateau of Lang. Red and Plateau of Lang. Oh joy. A monster appears from the shadows. Uh-oh. Please don't be something hideous. Please don't be something hideous. Sean, unfortunately we are not going to be able to sneak past this because it's a triangle monster. Blue, I believe, means it's a flying monster. Uh-oh, this is a problem. If you fail a horror check against a Sean, you're devoured. Oh boy. And that's a -2 gross. So we have 1 die, but we have rerolls, and I'm probably going to need them to keep from getting devoured here. Yeah, let's start spending clues, because I do not want to get Monty devoured if I can avoid it. Okay, there's a 6, so it only cost us 1 clue token, which means we dodged the bullet there. And now we're -2... Now we're -2 on the combat check, so we have base fight at 2, plus 4 is 6, -2 is 4. And we need 2 successes against the Sean. And I've got rerolls that I can use. I can use the bullet here. I will use the bullwhip. And I'll probably be using clues as well, most likely. We'll get the 5 out of the way. I can take 2 damage a lot more easily than I can take 2 sanity, that's for sure. Go ahead and spend a clue. Spend the last clue. Like I said, I can take 2 damage more easily than I can take 2 sanity, but I'd rather not take the damage either if I can avoid it. Looks like I'm taking 2 damage anyway. At least it's a lot better than just getting flat out than getting devoured full stop. So that's something anyway. Anyway, the Sean goes back into the bag. Not there, into the bag. That will do it for the Otherworld Encounter phase. Now let's move back up top for the Mythos phase. Mythos phase, and I think after this, assuming nothing goes haywire, healing some of the ladies will be the order of the day. So let's take a look. Okay, we get a clue at the we get a gate at the unnameable, except we don't because it's sealed. Clue appears at the woods. And we have monster movement. Hexagon moves on white, which reminds me, I don't think I checked any of those gates that I closed last turn. So square, Spectral Hunter was a square, but Jenny managed to take it off the board. And then star, I don't think we had any stars on the board. Okay. So now that we got that straight, let's back to the south side streets. Right. Hexagon moves on white, slash, triangle, and star moves on black. I don't think we have any of those. Then we have the blue flu. All investigators in jail are released. No investigators may be arrested until the end of next turn. Leave this card in play until then to indicate this. So I'll just go ahead and cover up the police station there. Right. So, we need to have a think here. I can get... So, Monty is going to be moving to the second half of the Plateau of Lang, which basically means I would need to duck one more bad gate spawn to have a shot at winning the game on the spot next turn. Question is, do I take I think we just go ahead and heal up this round. So anyway, let's move back into the next upkeep phase, and we'll go say hello to our new player, our new first player, Jenny. First things first, Jenny will get her dollar to go up to 14, since I am terrible about remembering that. Then I'll exhaust her soul and blood pacts, and then her turn is going to take her over to Arkham Asylum. Her movement phase is going to take her over to Arkham Asylum. We have got to heal this poor woman up. She's been through the ringer this game, so we're going to give her a little bit of a break on that front. But anyway, that will do it for Jenny. Now let's move over to Lily. I almost forgot at the end of the Mythos phase, Lily loses a stamina from being stuck outside. Then during her upkeep phase, she's going to lose a sanity to keep her Azure Flame. Like Jenny, she's also going to make a beeline for Arkham Asylum. With a speed of 3, she'll get there. So we're going to heal both Jenny and Lily up over the course of the next couple of turns. But anyway, that will do it for Lily. Now let's move down to Monty. Monty's Bullwhip refreshes. And then his movement phase is going to be very uneventful. He'll be moving over to the second half of the Plateau of Ling, where hopefully we can duck one more Mythos card that will spawn a problematic gate for us. Anyway, that will do it for Monty. Now let's move over to Diana. Diana's Blood Pact refreshes, and I think we are going to send her up to the police station, just in case something goes haywire and I need her personal story. So to do that, she's going to need a speed of 3. So we'll adjust that focus up, and then we're going to leave her stats otherwise as is. Anyway, that will do it for Diana. That will do it for the upkeep phase. Let's move into the movement phase, and we'll start with Jenny. I have both Jenny and Lily in shot here because their destinations are exactly the same. Jenny's going to move 1 to Downtown Streets, 2 to Arkham Asylum. That'll do it for Jenny. Lily will move 1 to Easttown Streets, 2 to Downtown Streets, and 3 to Arkham Asylum. That will do it for Lily. Now let's move down to Monty. Actually, as long as we're in shot, let's go ahead and get Diana here. Understand that Monty is supposed to go before Diana, but nothing's going to be different in the movement phase. So actually, I wonder if I can adjust the camera down slightly and get both Diana and Monty and their destinations in one shot. So we'll do this in the proper order. Monty's movement phase, blink and you miss it. Those clues were spent. And then Diana will move 1 to Rivertown Streets, 2 to Easttown Streets, 3 to the police station. So that was the blink and you miss it movement phase. The Arkham Encounter phase might be similarly quick. So let's move up to Jenny and Lily. Between the two of them, Jenny and Lily are both going to pay $4, or both going to pay $2 apiece for a total of $4, and both heal their sanity to full. So Jenny gets 5 sanity back, as does Lily actually. So there's Jenny's 5 sanity. And we'll get another 5 sanity out. For Lily. There we go. So that'll bring Lily up to full sanity as well. And I just saw that we do have Diana in shot. We'll be skipping over Monty, but we'll be coming back to him in the Otherworld Encounter phase. I'll grab the dice tower over here. Bring that into shot. And then we need the gray deck this time, so that will be this deck right here. Get a quick shuffle. And a cut. And that will be Diana's encounter at the police station. A protester was arrested outside a performance of The King in Yellow, and his ranting can be heard from the cells. Pass a lore -1 check to gain a clue token. Diana's lore is 6, -1 is 5. Here's the lid. That will be, wow. Where's that roll on some of the other rolls I've made this game? That will be another clue token for Diana. And now we'll move in, that'll do it for the Arkham Encounter phase. That was a pretty quick Arkham Encounter phase. Now we'll go into the Otherworld Encounter phase and we'll go pay Monty a visit. So we actually need to duck 2 terrible cards. We need to duck one here, and then again in the Mythos phase. But I'm getting ahead of myself when it comes to the Mythos phase. First we got to get through here, and we need a red or a green card. So let's start digging. Blue, no good. Stars are right. Shuffle the gate deck and keep drawing until you get an encounter of the right color. Fantastic. So now we have to shuffle the gate deck. This game would be a total nightmare to play using much more than a couple expansions. Like I'm already having nightmares about what happens. Well, what's going to happen when I try to play this using absolutely everything. Because I actually do have everything now for this game. I didn't when I first picked it up, but I do now, so... It proved to be a little hard to find and a little on the expensive side, but I got everything. And we're still looking for a red or a green. Yellow won't work. Red, and we have other. Pass a luck -1 check to find a quiet spot to rest. Gain 2 stamina and 2 sanity. Do you know how timely that could end up being right here? With a luck of 2, that could be very welcome. Beautiful. So we gain 2 stamina and 2 sanity, which brings him back up to full sanity and down 1 stamina. That could be very handy, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because that will do it for the Otherworld Encounter phase. Now we got to move up top for the Mythos phase. Part 1 of the master plan went off without a hitch, but it still could go haywire right here. Let's find out. Oh God, yeah, this just went completely haywire because we get the Unnameable, which has a seal on it. Unfortunately, it's also in red, so that means we get a gate burst. That is very unfortunate, which means that seal comes off the board. And we open a new gate at the Unnameable. So yeah. We get a regular gate, so we find... Relay. That's a -3 gate, effectively -4, which means I'm probably going to need to go to the Curiosity Shop and find an Elder Sign for that. But anyway, we get a monster with that. I got to check one thing here. Let me get the monster out while that's looking. Well, that's... Okay, so we draw everything like normal, as if there were no token on, as if there were no seal. Which means we'll get a token on Ithaqua's Doom Track and a Reckoning. Alright, so this is the monster that's guarding it. A Hound of Tindalos, oh joy. And we see it's in green, it's a -1 to evade, and it's a square monster. Physical immunity, so that means physical weapons do exactly diddly and squat. When it moves, the Hound of Tindalos moves directly to the nearest investigator inside a location in Arkham, other than the hospital or Arkham Asylum. -2 on the horror check, or you lose 4 sanity. -1 on the combat check, or you lose 3 stamina. 2 toughness to kill it. And yeah, a very big problem on our hands. Fantastic. Okay, so that goes to the unnameable. That's rather unfortunate. That'll be our 4th Doom token as well. And we get a Reckoning. Alright, that will be our Reckoning. We find Devotion Beyond Reason. Each investigator with a bound ally must discard all of his money and items. Fortunately, we have not taken any bound allies. We've got packs floating around right now. Okay, next up. Clue appears at the woods, which I'm probably going to be risking. And then we have cross moves on white, moon moves on black. So, moon moves on black. And back to French Hill Streets. Alright. Yuggoth in retrograde, environment mystic. Investigators receive +1 to fight and lore checks to close gates. So that cancels out the lurker at the threshold. Anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Yeah, about that plan to try to win the game right here. That didn't work out. So, I think, well, for that relay gate, that's a -4 gate. So the only one who's really going to have a chance to close that naturally... Well, only Diana and Jenny are even going to have dice to roll at it, so that's going to be a problem in itself. We probably need to go find Elder Signs. I also need to heal Jenny up pretty badly, so it's going to take me a couple of turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 move from Arkham Asylum. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 move when I send her to the Curiosity Shop. What I could do potentially is before Lily moves off, I could trade the motorcycle over to Jenny, and I might do that because she can get through the serpent people because it's elusive. But yeah, that gate burst was a big setback. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Now we're into the new upkeep phase. Lily will be our first player, so let's move down to Lily. First things first, Lily will pay 1 sanity to keep her Azure Flame. Then on her turn, she only needs a movement speed of 3 to get to the Curiosity Shop, so she's okay now, I think, trading off the motorcycle to Jenny. I'll also probably give her the Powder of Ibn Ghazi as well, just to give her some more firepower. But anyway, that will do it for Lily. Now let's move down to Monty. Monty is going to take a blood pact and immediately drain it for 6 stamina to go down to 1, mostly to get some power on the board. Mostly to get him some power. So let's grab him a blood pact. I'll exhaust it to give him 6 power. I would have done this anyway, even with the possibility of closing the game out right there. This is to get a seal back on the board. To get us back up to 3. Anyway, we also need to bump up his... I'm going to bump his lore up because I can't get his fight up high enough to try to seal that gate. That's a -1, effectively a -2 gate, so I'm going to need a reroll. When you make any... Actually, better idea than that. I am going to bump his fight up to 4 because I'm making a fight check to close a gate. So I get to add 1 to each die that I roll for that. The blue flu's gone. Right, so yeah, I forgot about grapple. So that's still a -2 gate effectively, but that will do it for Monty. Now let's move over to Diana. During her upkeep phase, Diana is going to spend 5 clues. So 4, 5. Those are going away. I'm giving up on a seal here for the time being. But I'm going to pass her personal story of redemption. Alright, so let's see what we get. The Mole. Sheriff Engel gaped at the assembled evidence. Is this for real? Diana nodded. Carl Sanford. I can't believe it. The sheriff stood, running a hand through his hair. Dingy, come on, we're paying a visit to the Silver Twilight Lodge. Diana's focus is increased by 1, so that brings her up to 2. When Diana has inner circle encounters, she draws 1 extra card, encountering whichever one she chooses. I'll look at those off camera, and then the one I have on camera when I do those encounters is the one I chose from the 2 I looked at. So that's how I'll handle that. Now, for Diana's focus. I want to try to move her to... I think I'm going to have to work her down to St. Mary's Hospital to heal, because she's at 2 stamina, and that's a little bit of a precarious position to be at right now. So, with a speed of 3, I can get her as far as the general store, which is probably where I'll have an encounter rather than go shopping outright. But anyway, that will do it for Diana. Now let's go pay Jenny a visit. It's going to be a slightly crazy play, but I think Jenny's going to plan on playing chicken with the Hound of Tyndalos. Although I do need to... Actually, no. Jenny is going to go heal first at St. Mary's Hospital. So she's going to... So on her turn, she's going to have the motorcycle from Lily. She'll need a speed of 5 to get down to St. Mary's Hospital from the asylum. So I'm going to have to move her speed and sneak up to 3-1. Anyway, that will do it for... I always forget. Jenny does gain $1 and goes up to 13. Now that will do it for the upkeep phase. Now let's go into the movement phase, and we'll start with Lily. Alright, in the movement phase, Lily will trade the motorcycle and the Powder of Ibn Ghazi both over to Jenny. And she'll take $5 back from Jenny to bring her up to bring both of them to 8. Then Lily will move 1 to downtown streets, 2 to the north side streets, and 3 to the curiosity shop. I really need to find an elder sign pronto for the aforementioned relay gate at the Unnameable. Anyway, that will do it for Lily. Now let's move over to Diana. Diana is going to move 1 to Easttown, 2 to Rivertown streets, and then 3 to the general store. Monty I have here in shot, but I don't... Now I have his destination in shot. I had to zoom out a little bit. But anyway, Monty's... I actually did that slightly out of order. I should have gone to Monty next, then Diana. But once again, order of the events doesn't really matter, but nothing's going to change based on that. So Monty actually comes out at the witch house. He gets an explored token. He won't have to deal with those monsters this turn. Now let's move up to Jenny. In order to take this long shot, I've got to move most of the way back up top. So anyway, Jenny's going to exhaust the motorcycle to give her 2 extra movement points, bringing her up to 5. Then she's going to move 1 to downtown streets, 2 to Merchant District streets, 3 to Miskatonic University streets, getting past the Serpent People, 4 to Uptown, and 5... do we go 5 to the Wood? I think we go 5 to St. Mary's Hospital right now and plan on... I can grab those clues next turn, which I might do anyway. Now, that will do it for the movement phase. Let's go into the Arkham Encounter phase, and we'll start with Lily. Lily is shopping for Elder Signs here, though I won't say no to a very good weapon. But let's see what she gets. First card up. Alien Statue. Exhaust and spend 2 movement points and 1 sanity to roll a die. If the die is a success, draw 1 spell or gain 3 clue tokens. If it's a failure, lose 2 stamina. That seems a little risky, but my 1 die rolls are not great. Anyway, second card up. Staff of the Pharaoh. Magical weapon, +3 to combat checks. Any phase, exhaust to cast 1 spell as if both your hands were free. That's a weapon I could pass off to somebody. And... shoot. Come on. Flute of the Outer Gods. Lose 3 sanity and 3 stamina and discard Flute of the Outer Gods before making a combat check to defeat all monsters in your current area. This attack does not affect ancient ones. Well, I think with the idea of passing it off, we'll take the Staff of the Pharaoh. I really wanted an Elder Sign there, but a good weapon that I can pass off to somebody else is kind of hard to pass up. So I will move that over to Lily. Like I said, the idea there is eventually passing that off to somebody else. But that will do it for Lily. Now let's move down to Monty. Alright, so this is it. So we're going to try to close and seal this gate at the Witch House. Plateau of Lang's a -1, which was effectively a -2 gate because of the Lurker. Now it's back to -1 thanks to Yuggoth in retrograde, which also screwed us by giving us the gate burst at the Unnameable. So Monty has 3 dice, and because of grapple, he's +1 when determining successes. So a 4 will work here. Which we get a regular success anyway, so he gets to close Plateau of Lang. Then we'll spend 5 power while I'm doing that. I'll check diamonds. I think the Elder Thing is a diamond. And that might be the only diamond monster on the board right now. So at least we're starting to get the monster count down a little bit. But anyway, 5 power spent. For our third, to get back to our 3rd blue seal. So we still have the Warlock on there that we're going to need to deal with next turn. But that's a problem for next turn. Anyway, that will do it for Monty. We can get Diana in shot. She'll be having an encounter at the general store. So that's the purple deck again. cut. And let's see what Diana gets at the general store. It's not often we get to have one of these encounters instead of shopping. The storekeeper offers you $2 to watch the shop for the rest of the afternoon. If you accept, gain $2 and stay here next turn. I could actually welcome a rest, so I think Diana will take him up on that offer. So we'll tip her down just so I know she's staying there next turn. That will do it for Diana. Now let's move over to Jenny. There's going to be nothing crazy about Jenny's Arkham Encounter phase. She's going to use the text on St. Mary's Hospital and receive medical care. Instead of having an encounter here, you may recover stamina by receiving medical care. You may either regain 1 stamina for free or pay $2, which we did, to restore your stamina to its maximum value. So Jenny's now back up to full strength, which is where we wanted her to be. Anyway, that will do it for Jenny and the Arkham Encounter phase. Nobody's in an other world right now, so we have no otherworld encounter phase. Now let's move back up top for the Mythos phase. We're back up top for the Mythos phase, so let's see what we get here. We find... oh boy, our first rumor. So Independence Square gets a gate, except it doesn't. Alright, and then we have monster movement. Slash, triangle, and star moves on white. Hexagon moves on black. None of which I think we have on the board right now. Moon, square, moon, circle. And that circle wouldn't move anyway. Okay. Alright. The Southside Strangler strikes. Ongoing effect. Return 1 ally from the ally deck to the box at random at the end of every Mythos phase while this card is in play, beginning the turn after it entered play. The Southside Strangler has struck again. Pass. If a single player discards 5 clue tokens while in Ma's boarding house during the Arkham Encounter phase, return this card to the box. Each player gains $5 as a reward from the police. Fail. If there are no allies to return to the box at the end of the Mythos phase, return this card to the box. Each player must lower either their maximum sanity or stamina, their choice, by 1 for the rest of the game. So that one might not be too horrible, but yeah, there's definitely a temptation to send Lily into Relay, and just try to close the game, try again to close the game out, especially now that she's got some clues for rerolls, and she hasn't taken any packs yet, so that's a temptation as well. We might be able to just take out this Hound of Tindalos, potentially. That might be worth a well, it's going to cost her a sanity to... she's going to need a sanity to keep the Azure Flame, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. First, we got to move into the Upkeep phase. Monty will be our first player this round. Monty has to fight the Warlock at the Witch House. His Blood Pact refreshes first. So, yeah, his turn is very much occupied with that battle with the Warlock. Fortunately, it's magically immune and all he's got is physical weapons. So, yeah, that will do it for Monty. Let's move over to Diana. Diana's turn is also occupied because she's watching the general store for the storekeeper. So, yeah, her turn is also very short. That will do it for Diana. Let's move over to Jenny. Jenny gains $1, goes up to 7. Her motorcycle refreshes. She won't need it this round because she's going to go to the woods and gobble up those 2 clues that are down there. That will do it for Jenny. Now let's move over to Lily. Alright, Lily has a speed of 3, which she's going to need to get down to the Unnameable again. We're going to try to sneak past the Hound of Tindalos using survivors to do it, but I know I'm taking a bit of a risk here. Also, we're going to spend 1 sanity to keep Azure Flame around. Anyway, that will do it for Lily. Lily is not our first player, by the way. It should be Monty here. Speaking of Monty, we're now into the movement phase, so let's get down and see what Monty's doing. We have Monty and Diana both in shot here, so we'll go ahead and get both of them taken care of. Monty will start off by fighting the Warlock, so he is not going to be able to sneak past this, although I couldn't have even gotten his focus down to give him a shot at it. But magical immunity, fortunately he's got only physical weapons. Will is -1, so he automatically fails that to give him make him lose 1 stamina. And then he's got a -3 on the combat check, which cancels out his 38 revolver. So he's at 5 dice, he needs 2 successes, and he gets to add 1 to his dice when determining for successes. So fours work here for Monty. We get 3 successes, so Monty defeats the Warlock, which goes back to the box, and he gets 2 clue tokens for it, which brings him up to 3 if I count the power as a clue token. So we'll put those on Monty's dashboard. Then Diana's turn is very simple. She stands up. That will do it for Monty and Diana. Now let's go see what Jenny's doing. Jenny's going to move 1 to Uptown Streets and 2 to the woods to grab these clues, which will bring her up to 3 clues. We have plenty of time to go on both the personal story and our gates. Anyway, that will do it for Jenny. Now let's move up to Lily. Let's have this work, Lily. So first, we're going to move 1 to Northside Streets, 2 to the Merchant District Streets, 3 to the Unnameable, where she's going to try to sneak by the Hound of Tyndalos, and she's going to use Survivors to give her a shot at it. So she's at 2, plus 1 is 3, minus 1 is 2. And I've got rerolls if I need them. Which I do not need them because I get 2 successes. So Lily does sneak past the Hound of Tyndalos, which means she'll be going to relay next turn. Anyway, that will do it for the movement phase. Now we're into the Arkham Encounter phase, and let's start with Monty. We can get both Monty and Diana in shot here, so we'll do both of them. Anyway, Monty needs the blue deck for his encounter. As I drop cards again. Fantastic. That's the one peril of shuffling around a camera. It's never... You never do get fully used to it. But I'm trying. And a cut, and there's our encounter. So the Witch House for Monty. You are overcome by the echoing chants of the long-gone witches who have lived and died here. You pass out. Make a will -2 check. Oh boy, his will is 1, which drops to 0, so that would be an auto-fail if I want it to be. And, ugh. Do I bite the bullet on it, or do I try to fight this? I don't think I fight this. If you fail, you are missing half your items when you wake up. Discard half your items, your choice, rounded down. So yeah, we're going to bite the bullet, and I'm just not going to fight that. So I think Monty will discard... He'll discard the safety deposit key and the 38... Well... Yeah, the safety deposit key is definitely going to go, and which weapon do I want to lose? I think we'll lose the bullwhip because the reroll is just too handy to pass up. And plus, there's a pretty decent chance that Diana can find a better weapon when she goes shopping. And I've got weapons all around that I can probably pass over when I get Monty with somebody. So first up for Diana, a lantern, which is +1 to luck checks. That might not be terrible to grab. A flare gun. Discard flare gun while in a street area during the movement phase to move all monsters in the sky to your location. That seems like it could be really bad. Unless there's something I need to draw down. And... brass knuckles. +1 to combat checks. The thing about this is it takes no hands. So I'm actually going to grab the brass knucks. We'll give Diana the power of the punch. So yeah, power of the punch. It better be strong with you, Diana. If it's not, I'll pass it over to somebody it's much stronger with. So those will move to the bottom of the deck. That will do it for Diana. Now let's move up to Jenny. Actually, we can move the camera just slightly and get Jenny at the woods. I'll move the dice tower up to her. Probably could have encapsulated those. Everybody. Yeah, I actually have Lily in shot too, so I'll make my life easy. Anyway, for the woods, we need the red deck. And the woods. Yellow-robed actors are reenacting some sort of battle in the woods, or are they rehearsing for a battle yet to come? Pass a sneak -1 check to search the common item deck and take the first weapon you find. If you fail, you're attacked and lose 2 stamina. What's her sneak? Her sneak is 1. I could roll this to give her I could give her a die, which... I don't really want to double her right back to St. Mary's Hospital. We might as well try it. We'll spend a clue to give her a die. Plus, I know there are some good weapons in that deck. Which we actually get to find. So, yeah. So we'll search the deck and take the first weapon we find. Alright, come on, focus. Newspaper assignment, not a weapon. Dusty manuscripts, not a weapon. Lantern, not a weapon. Crowbar, physical weapon. This'll work. As long as I don't drop the blasted thing. Single-handed weapon. +2 to combat checks. During movement, discard crowbar to make a sneak -2 check. Draw a common item for each success you roll. If you fail, you're arrested. Okay, that could be potentially problematic. But that will do it for Jenny. Lily's Arkham Encounter phase. She's right here. Thanks to sneaking past the Hound of Tyndalos, she gets to go to Relay. With that, we'll drop down to Lily into the Otherworld Encounter phase. Lily's in Relay, so we need either a... Let me get this out of the way. So so we need either a red or a yellow card. Green won't work. Blue no good. Red, and we have Relay. Slip on whetstones and slide into a pit. Pass a luck +0 check to climb out. Her luck is 3, and we do have rerolls. I saw the fail, but I won't mention it unless we actually fail. And I saw the fail, and I don't want to fail. Okay, so we don't fail, which means I will not bother with that. So we're done there. That will do it for the Otherworld Encounter phase. Lily was our only investigator out. Now let's move back up top for the Mythos phase. Alright, we're back up top for the Mythos phase, so let's see what we get here. Alright, we start off with a gate at the witch house, except we don't because there's a seal. Clue appears at the black cave. So we'll put a clue there. Then circle, or square and diamond move on white. Circle moves on black. So we have... Oh boy. Okay, so the Hound of Tyndalos moves. And it's moving. Store is not excluded from that, so it actually moves to Diana. And she'll be the first player, so... Actually, that's kind of helpful. But... I'll give that some thought how I want to deal with it. Probably by taking it out. Well, that thing is a beast and a half to take out. Well, the checks aren't bad. And I only need, what is it, 2 toughness to kill it? Yeah, 2 toughness to kill it. Alright, so I'll give that a little bit of thought during the upkeep phase. Estate sale. Environment urban, so we're losing Dark's Carnival. Investigators who end their movement in the uptown streets may draw 2 unique items and purchase 1, none, or both at list price, discarding any that are not purchased. Okay, so that's at the uptown streets, which is right on top of Jenny. Alright, so that goes away. Then at the end of the Mythos phase, the Southside Strangler strikes, which means we lose one of our allies. So this is the ally we're losing. We lose Eric Weiss. I won't bother with what he would have given us because we're losing him. Anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Now we're going to do a new Upkeep phase, and Diana will be our new first player. So we'll drop down and see what Diana's doing. We're over here with Diana. She's got to deal with that Hound of Tyndalos in the general store. So, I think... She's going to have a fight of... 1, 2, 4. That's a -1. She needs 2 successes. That thing's got physical immunity. I think the better idea might be to have her... try to give that the slip. The only problem is I can't really get her help right now. Because the one person who could most reliably help her is trapped in the, well, 1, 2, 3, 4. I could get her help, but it's going to cause me big problems. Although it's a -1, both dice would need to be successes. I think we just leave her stats as is. ultimately. But I was thinking if I could try to get Jenny up to help her, but that would require... Actually, I could. Because I just remembered the serpent people are elusive. Although Jenny I was going to send to Ma's boarding house to try to stop this rumor from going off, but... I don't know. I'll have to have a think about that. Well, better be a quick think. So, I guess it'll depend on how Diana's turn goes. If she's able to give the Hound of Tindalos the slip, I'll try to send Jenny up there to deal with it. But where am I sending Diana if it doesn't go sideways on her? I think I'm sending her to the Black Cave, actually. We'll have her gobble up some clues. Anyway, that will do it for Diana. Let's move up to Jenny. Trust Fund is such a beautiful thing when I remember it. So $1 for Jenny. That brings her up to 8. Now, her turn's going to depend on what happens with Diana. If Diana gives that thing the slip, Jenny's probably going to go up to the general store and deal with the Hound of Tindalos. If it doesn't, I think I'm going to send Jenny over to Ma's boarding house, most likely to stop the rumor. With that in mind, I'm going to need to drain the Soul Pact for 3 sanity to give her 3 power so she has enough clues. And the next turn, I can bless Lily, who's going to be coming out of Relay next turn. So we'll drain that for 3 sanity to give her 3 power tokens. So there are the 3 power tokens that I'll give to Jenny. She'll put a stop to the rumor. She'll put a stop to the rumor on her Arkham Encounter phase. Come on, there we go. That will do it for Jenny. Now let's move over to Lily. 1 sanity away for Lily to keep her Azure Flame around. Her movement phase is going to be very uneventful, moving the second half of Relay. Unfortunately, the Mythos phase has the potential to be much more eventful, but that will do it for Lily. Now let's move over to Monty. Monty is going to stay put this turn because he is trapped by a cultist, and I did actually forget. I did mean to move Diana's speed and sneak down to 2/2, so that's taken care of. Anyway, Monty is stuck in place because he's got the cultist on the French Hill streets, and he can't take a stamina loss. So I think just to play it safe with Monty, he's just going to stay put this turn. Anyway, that will do it for the Upkeep phase. We'll leave his stats as is. There's really no impact there. But anyway, that will do it for Monty. That'll do it for the Upkeep phase. Now let's move into the Movement phase, and we'll see what Diana is doing. Diana is hopefully getting past this Hound of Tindalos. So let's go ahead and give this a roll and see what happens. Diana is getting past the Hound of Tindalos. So 1 to Rivertown Streets and 2 to the Black Cave where she'll grab this clue. That will do it for Diana. Now let's move over to Jenny. We have Jenny just in shot over here at the woods. So she's also going to exhaust the motorcycle to get her movement up to 5, which will be just enough to get her to the general store. So we'll move her 1 to, Uptown Streets, 2 to Miskatonic University and past the Serpent People because they're elusive, 3 to Merchant District Streets, 4 to Rivertown Streets, and 5 into the general store, where she'll deal with the Hound of Tindalos, because I don't want it following us around Arkham anymore, to be perfectly honest. Although this was actually a bad play. Although I do have clues if I need them, and I might. Yeah, I think I'm going to take the risk that we don't flip a gate on this Mythos card. So her will right now is 5, minus 2 is 3. So maybe this wasn't such a bad play after all, with her fighting will where it is. We'll find out, though. Alright, we'll start spending power. There's our first power. Okay, so we get past that. And it only cost us 1 power. Next, we're actually going to use... I've been sitting on this for a while, and now I think is the right time to use it. So we'll use the Powder of Ibn Ghazi. It's a magical weapon, because the Hound has physical immunity, so we need magical weapons. Plus 9 to combat checks. Lose 1 sanity and discard after use. So we'll lose the 1 sanity right now. And then we have... And then the -1 cancels out Jenny's base fight, so we get 9 dice. And we need 2 successes. 3, 6, 9. I see 2 successes in there and a pretty horrid roll otherwise, but the 2 successes are what's important right now, because Jenny has claimed the Hound of Tindalos as a monster trophy. So that's very nicely done, Jenny. That will do it for Jenny. Now let's move to Lily. Lily's movement phase, blink, and you miss it. She moves over to the second half of her relay. That will do it for Lily in the movement phase. I'm not going to send her into Monty because he's staying put. Next we go into the Arkham Encounter phase. Our first player there is Diana. And I think we can get all of our Arkham investigators in shot, so we'll go see about that. We can indeed get them and the Dice Tower all in shot. So we'll start off with Diana, who is in the Black Cave, and we'll have a Black Cave encounter, so we need the purple deck for that. Again, we need the purple location deck because the Reckoning deck is purple. All right, and that is our encounter. So we get a collapsed side passage. Looks like it was once a smuggler's hideout. Make a fight -2 check. If you pass, search the common item deck and take the first item with the list price of $4 or more. I think we are going to discard the nameless, or the research materials that I've been sitting on all game, just to give me a die at this. So fortunately, this is one of those encounters that there's really no penalty for failing, thankfully. That's a 2, so we're not going to bother with going further than that. Just because there was no penalty for failing and it was all good for passing, so I figured at least worth a shot. Anyway, Jenny's got $8 and she's going shopping for common items. There are still some very good common items in the deck. First up we find Elephant Gun. Any phase, exhaust before making a combat check to gain +8 to that check. Upkeep doesn't refresh unless you spend $2. Good, but not for the upkeep part of it. Then we have another Elephant Gun. Apparently it wants to give us that. And Grey's Anatomy, Arkham Encounter phase. Exhaust when spending a monster trophy to increase the toughness value of that trophy by 1. I think we are going to take Grey's Anatomy. Just because we're set on, Jenny's set on weapons and we don't need the Elephant Gun here. So we'll spend the $3. There are those. The Elephant Guns are going to the bottom of the deck. And now for Monty, we're having a an encounter at the witch house. We skip over Lily because she's in another world, and this phase isn't relevant to her. Actually, I wonder if we could have gotten everybody in shot here, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. But anyway, we're back to Monty. Give that a cut. And there's our encounter. So at the witch house, we find... You find a terrible collection of human remains within the walls. Pass a will -1 check or lose 2 sanity. This is actually another rare encounter where it's essentially nothing happening, and I'll explain why. So Monty, the -1 on Monty's current will drops him down to 0, so he automatically fails. He ends up going insane, and he goes to Arkham Asylum for the round. So he gets restored to full, and then he actually will get to discard his Elixir of Life instead of drawing an injury or madness condition. Normally he would have to take a madness condition here, but thanks to this elixir, he doesn't have to this round. So he's all good there. That will do it for Monty. That will do it for the Arkham Encounter phase. Let's move to Lily in the Otherworld Encounter phase. Lily's in the second half of Relay, so we need a red or a yellow card. Blue won't work. Red, and we have Other. Pass a speed -1 check to grab the carving before it falls. Draw 1 spell. Her speed is 3, -1 is 2. We do pass, so Lily gets to draw a spell. Lily will draw. Premonition. Casting modifier -1, sanity cost 1. Any phase, cast an exhaust to move 1 skill slider up to 2 stops. Okay, we might end up needing that, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. Anyway, with that, that's the end of the arc of the Otherworld Encounter phase. Now let's move back up top for the Mythos phase. We find ourselves in a similar situation to what we were in a few turns ago. If we don't draw another gate, we're going to have a chance to win the game on this next turn. But let's see what we're getting. We find... Wonderful. So the woods will get a gate. So I'll go grab this. Regular gate this time we find. The Abyss, which is a hexagon gate, -2. Effectively -3 thanks to the Lurker. And we grabbed that. We haven't grabbed the monster stand yet, though. At the woods. So we'll get the yellow monster stand for that. We'll get a monster. And we find a Dark Druid, -2 to try to sneak past. It's a hexagon monster. And it's a green monster, physical resistance. Dark Druid is treated as a cultist. Fantastic. When Dark Druid moves on a black path, all other monsters move on black after their normal movement. Oh, wonderful. Alright, so we'll get our 5th Doom for Ithaqua, and then we'll have a Reckoning. And what do we find as our reckoning? Let's find out. We find Traveler of the Paths. Each investigator with 2 or more dark packs must immediately return all of their gate trophies to the bottom, face down to the bottom of the pile of gate markers. Oh boy, I think the only one that applies to right now is Jenny, and she only had 1 gate trophy anyway, so that is actually rather unfortunate because I was going to use this to get Lily. I would have been using this to get Lily blessed, but alas. So that goes back into the bag. That goes back on top of the deck. Then we continue. Clue appears at... Put that back in. Clue appears at the Historical Society. Then we have white moving, or moon moving on white, cross moving on black. So we have plenty of moon monsters. So the Serpent People moves to the Merchant District streets, and the Cultist moves to Southside streets, which basically means those clues are now probably inaccessible, and there's a very real chance that they're just going to end up lost. So we do need to be aware of that. Slum murders continue. Headline: an old basement is opened, releasing 2 monsters into the Easttown streets. So those are going to be going here. I'll be returning another ally as well after we get done with this. So there are 2 monsters. First up we find a cultist, which we know are bad news. And we find a zombie, which is another moon monster, +1 to try to sneak past. It's undead. She screamed and fired again, but still the thing shambled on, teeth dripping as it groaned its horrible cry. So we'll get those onto the Easttown streets. Okay, and then we are losing another ally from the Southside Strangler. So here are the allies. That's the ally we're losing. We still have, it seems like 8 left in the deck, so we're losing. Thomas Olney. That would have been a good thing to have, but alas, nothing we can do there. Anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. I think our goal right now is to try to go hunting elder signs like crazy. So to that end, we're going to move into the next Upkeep phase. Jenny will be our first player. Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight from the future here. So this video has reached about the 3-hour mark, which is where I try to cut these videos off. We won't be going into the new Upkeep phase in this video, but that will be where we start in part 2 of Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. So as you see, we're in a bit of an interesting position. We have 3 seals on the board. It is very much still anybody's game. We have monsters decently under control at this point, but hopefully we'll be able to settle things down and get the board under control. But in any event, you'll have to watch part 2 to see how that ends. Thank you for watching part 1. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.